I just love this Oklahoma weather. 2 days ago it was in the upper 60s, and today we have an ice storm. So we're going to take a little tour through the land from out here at the entrance by the road all the way back to the pond and just try to catch some good shots of this beautiful ice. Here's looking down the entrance towards the Delta Dawn RV and into the farm. Here is at the first RV, and pardon the mess, I've still got a few things to clean up out here, but I've come a long way with it. Here we got the lattice and most of the garden beds. And over there we have a swale bed that I'm working on, and several more garden beds, as well as some lattice back there by the woods that I'm working on. Here we have the TV and the tree art piece. I'm planning on getting some more TVs up there. That one was a real bitch to do, but kind of just a little piece to make you think. And here is the most healthy bed in the whole farm. It's the first bed that I made, so it's the oldest. It's got the deepest amount of mulch and compost, and I use that for my herb garden. Down this way we've still got a little bit of trash to clean up. A few different art pieces that didn't work out, like the toilet iris garden there. Over this direction we've got one of the goat pen concepts that I worked on. It's halfway made out of actual fencing and halfway made out of just pallets tied together, and it actually worked pretty well. This way we have the some garlic beds there with garlic growing in them, and over that direction we have the shoe tree, which is another concept piece, and the scrap pile. Here we have a close-up of the shoe tree. It's a work in progress, just an art piece that I made with a bunch of shoes. Right now there's a big old scrap pile here that we're getting ready to haul off because we just cleaned out this little section. There's the pig pen. Here is another concept piece. This is the circuit board tree. I really can't find very many uses for recycling circuit boards, so this is just kind of like an art concept just to get people thinking and talking. It actually looks pretty cool with the ice hanging off there. There's another shot with the icicles. Continuing on down the road, we're right now looking over there where Caleb's going to put his metal building and one of the mulch beds. This is one of the zones where we've been doing a lot of clearing lately and burning. This here is going to be Caleb's shop. This is the zone where he's building his shop back there in that clearing. We still have yet to get all those stumps out. That's the next step. This little clearing here is my home site that I plan to build my cob house in. Still has a lot more work to be done, but that's just what it looks like right now. And this location here is where I'm going to be digging out my pond. Just a small pond for water for plants and animals and different small activities. As you can see, it's already holding water. Right there in the middle where it's kind of greenish is where I've already dug out about 3 feet down. So there's actually quite a bit of water potential right there. This location here is where I'm going to build that small shed. I was originally going to use it as a cabin, and I still may, but it's also a possibility that I'll just be using it as a mycology lab to get all the mushroom growing activities off the ground out here for next year. Back towards the pond. Right here is where the road splits between the sacred grove in that direction. That's going to be a designated piece of the property that I do not do any work in at all. Just kind of left to go natural. I'm not going to trim or cut the trees or the brush or anything like that. That's just going to be left to total wilderness. So call it the sacred grove. Back here by the pond is some of the only property that was already cleared when I moved here. I've got a couple beds back there. Also a jet ski that I need to get rid of. And over there we got a bunch of trash left from camping back here. But this area back here is one of the lowest areas on the property, so there is just a ton of standing water. The pond isn't far that way, but as you can see, there's already so much standing water on top of the soil. If a man were just to dig a couple little reservoirs or canals, you could always have irrigation back here. And here is the other clearing by the pond. And both of these clearings put together probably would be less than an acre, but it's what we had to start with. There's no trees growing in this little zone right here, so I've actually got a couple goat fences. Here's some of the woods that are going to be cleared out. We're going to try to clear around that big oak tree back there. Here's another view of that clearing. That's the completed goat fence over there that we kept them in for a couple seasons now. And there's a big oak tree there that's pretty much the back line of the property. The property line just goes right on the other side of that sucker. This whole area back here is filled with persimmon trees. This leaning tree right here is a persimmon. Obviously it's not probably one that you would want to keep if you're trying to get fruit off of it, but I think it's an interesting looking tree, so I'm going to keep. But all through here is where I'm going to be clearing out around the persimmon trees, selecting for good fruit producers and female trees specifically, and trying to make this into a little fruit grove back here. Here's another one of my experimental art pieces. I'm hoping that that tree will grow around that rock. And it's been there for a while now, so hoping that the rock will actually become part of the tree. Here's a good view of the pond. It's actually surprisingly deep. You see that grass and you'd assume that the dirt was at that level, but those are actually floating mats of grass. Haven't done much clearing back here by the pond yet, but like I say, this is where I want to thin out around these cedar trees and persimmon trees that are all through here. This is a group art project. Back here by the pond, whenever I take anyone on a guided tour through here, or whenever I myself walk through here, I like to pick up a rock from the surrounding area and add it to this path. And after the rocks are placed, then I go through and pick some of the moss that's just growing here on the forest floor and just squish it down in between those rocks, and it actually takes off and grows. And it's turning out to be a pretty cool path, and everyone who's ever been here has contributed something to this project, so it's pretty interesting concept. And here where the moss is, it's actually holding it together really well. Actually makes a pretty good path. This is the water shrine. Basically, I've got 4 different shrines on the property: earth, air, fire, and water, in 4 different locations. And whenever I find animal skulls, like for instance, if I find a dog skull, I think that pertains to the element of fire, so that goes to the fire shrine. If I find seashells or turtles or something like that, that goes to the water shrine. Bird skulls and feathers to the air shrine, and deer and pig and stuff like that on the earth shrine. But I basically just taken some cedar branches and wove them through there without using any kind of binding or anything, so it's all natural. And whenever I come through here, I just try to dust off the shells and make sure everything's in good condition. Just to kind of, it's not like worshiping animals or anything, but I'm just paying my respects to the life-sustaining element of water. Here is one of the biggest cedar trees on the property that I've found. On cedar trees, they withstand pruning pretty well. So I like to go through and cut off all the branches that are at eye level or below, so that you can observe the tree and walk around it and stuff like that. Leaving cedar trees to grow scrubby with all their branches towards the ground is really good habitat for birds. So I don't do that to all the trees, but just a few. Like this one here is just a beautiful specimen, so I've just kind of cleaned it up and hope to trim some of the trees around it so it can really do well. This tree is called Mother Oak. It was actually the first large tree that me and a buddy cleared around when I first came out here to the farm. It's a very old tree, and it's also housing one of my experimental art projects. This is another group project. I basically just collect rocks when I find them that are of a shardy shape or interesting shape, and then when people are out here hanging out, we wind up some copper around the rocks or a different type of wire and make a hook on them, and then climb up in the tree and hang them. So there's actually a whole bunch of different individual art projects hanging up in this tree by a bunch of different people, and it really makes for this is actually one of the more cooler art projects that I've done out here, and it looks pretty cool. We are now at the other side of the first clearing that I showed you next to the pond. There's the mother oak tree back there, and this is where the return road splits. That goes directly back to the pond.